Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Jacqueline Luqman, and on my way to work this morning, thought I'd have a little car chat with you about an issue that we have been warning about for, I don't know, a couple of years. We always warn about it. Actually, it's been longer than a couple of years, but we got to see it, at least I got to see it up front last summer at the United National Anti-War Conference in Baltimore. And we have been warning people on this online left, this progressive left, about racism in our ranks among our so-called allies on the so-called progressive online ranks. We've been talking about this for a while. We talked about it when Bernie Sanders did his speech. He had his rally, I think, in Seattle, and two black women interrupted him because he wasn't talking about racial justice. And there is no reason for a politician in 2018 not to have racial justice in their platform. Not if you want black people to vote for you. And not if you really want a just and equal society. And we started talking about it, about racism among progressives when we saw the way white people who call themselves progressives, who call themselves Bernie supporters, responded to those women. I mean, they were just as racist as your stereotypical Southern Klan member. They were pretty nasty to those women. And then we saw it up front ourselves at the UNAC conference in Baltimore, where two very well known, with very large platforms, white women, what they did was they created a controversy for the benefit of their new legion of alt-right followers. I saw firsthand Debbie Luzignan and Claudia Stauber blatantly lie about what happened at the UNAC conference and accuse Ajamu Baraka of being racist because he conducted a session, a workshop that was for people of African descent, for us to discuss our issues in regard to war and imperialism, specifically our issues that impact us uniquely. And they made Claudia made all kinds of claims about how she wasn't allowed to be there. She wasn't allowed to live stream. But a black woman was allowed to live stream. She called this man racist. She called the people who were in the workshop racist. She said UNAC was racist. I tried to reach out to her and talk to her because I was there. The second day, she wouldn't talk to me. She didn't reach out and talk to anybody. We tried to talk to her online. Then Debbie got involved. Debbie got up at the last day on the conference and made this impassioned plea to the people at the UNAC conference that they needed to end the dialogue about racial issues and stop othering members of the alt-right. She said that. And that the anti-war movement could have such a much larger following, which have a much larger base if they were more open to members of the alt-right. And when I sat there and listened to that woman say that Sunday afternoon at the UNAC conference, I thought to myself, they're making this shit up. They're doing this on behalf of their newfound fan base. They got a bunch of new white people who are members of the alt-right who are believing this. We can work with racist bullshit that came from Caitlin Johnstone, who tried to say she didn't say that. But when the example you use for someone, when the example you use for the kinds of people that we should work with is a rape apologizing racist, you are saying that we should work with those kinds of people. And we had those conversations with her online. People try to talk to these people about these problematic ass narratives about working with racists. We went, me, Anoa Changa, other people, just just tried to reason with these folks and explain to them why their narrative about working with racists was, number one, ignorant, and number two, dangerous for us. But they didn't want to listen. So, I mean, they got their legions of followers to come after us, to attack us, to call us racists. Somebody created a Facebook group that was called the Jammu Baraka Exposed, where they were basically the fan club of Claudia Stauber, defending this racist ass woman who made all this shit up about a Jammu Baraka. She was allowed to attend the workshop. I have the video. The video exists of her, of Claudia, and another white man sitting in the workshop. But she continued to lie and say that she didn't, that nobody let her, that they wouldn't let her attend. And she was not allowed to live stream the workshop because organizations have a right to control their own content. Like when we went to the Black is Back Coalition annual conference last week, we started to live stream, but we forgot we should always ask first. So one of the members of the Black is Back Coalition kindly came over to us and asked if we would mind not live streaming because they're streaming it on their page. And we were like, you know what? You're right. We apologize. Yeah, we'll stop streaming and we'll share your page. That's all that was. She tried to make it seem like this was some racial conspiracy against white people, that these angry ass black people. And these are people, these were black people, by the way, that she had previously interviewed during the 2016 presidential election. I mean, because I think either she or Debbie Luzignan had interviewed Jammu Baraka as he was the vice presidential candidate for the Green Party running with Jill Stein. So they were fine having that man on their show so they could boost their ratings. But then they turned on him. They turned on him, accused him of being a racist, because then they wanted to, they could get more mileage and more money out of pandering to their alt-right racist ass base. That's what they did. And this is what we have been trying to tell people about this idea about working with racists. You can't. There's no common ground with those people. Their common ground is littered with our bodies. The common ground of racists is littered with the bodies of black, brown, immigrant, gay, trans people. And there is no policy on the face of the earth that I want passed bad enough that I am going to align myself with them. Because even if we get that policy, guess what they're going to do when we're done? They're coming after me. And some of you people who have advocated this, let's work with racists, let's work with the alt-right, we can find common ground with them ideology, y'all ain't going to protect us. Y'all aren't going to put your bodies on the line to keep those people from coming after us. So we were watching CNN this morning as I was getting ready to come in, go to work. And they were doing a piece on Trump's effect on the alt-right and the racist groups in this country. And while Trump hasn't come out and said, I am a racist, he did say, I am a nationalist. And like we always tell you, it's not always the exact things people say. Sometimes it's what they don't say. And he knows what he's saying to his base. So Trump didn't have to say, I'm a racist white nationalist. He said, I'm a nationalist. And that means something. It meant something to the actual racist white nationalists who knew damn well that he was saying to them, I am with you. So when he said about the people in Charlottesville, and he said, oh, there were good people on both sides, I'm sure. That, I mean, yeah, that angered the counter protesters, but for the racists who came out there, that was a validation of them. And these people came out there armed to the teeth, and the police let them come out. Do you know, in DC, you can't attend a protest if you have a sign with like a wooden stick attached to the sign. You have to have like a piece of a cardboard too, because they don't want you to carry something that can be used as a weapon. And I thought that was pretty common across the whole country, but apparently it's not, especially when it comes to members of the alt-right and the neo-Nazis who can get off a bus clad in riot gear, basically. Riot gear, guns, batons, and use them on people. So those are the kinds of people that these folks have been on the left, on the so-called progressive online left, and the people who advocate this, the Caitlin Johnstones, the Debbie Luzignans, the Claudia Staubers, and all those punk-ass, spineless people who did not stand up against those women. They're not actually progressives. They're opportunists. They're opportunists. They saw a way to make some money with this online punditry thing, and that's what they're doing. They expanded their Patreon accounts, right? They expanded their subscriber base on YouTube, and they were able to monetize their videos more. It's all about money and exposure for these people. Same thing with people on Twitter, the Zach Hallers and all of these crazy, illiterate, just completely ahistorical, ignorant white people who got in on this politics thing in 2016 because they saw an opportunity to make some money. They're not really trying to change anybody's lives. So all of the people who just love them and believe that they're truth tellers and just hang on every word, you need to understand who these people are. You need to understand what these people did to long-time social, racial, and anti-imperialist activists. So now you have white nationalists, neo-Nazi, and racist groups openly admitting on television. You remember a time when you could never get one of those people to be interviewed by the news? They would be too ashamed. They'd be too ashamed because they knew that they would lose their jobs. They would be ridiculed by people that, being a racist used to be at some point after Jim Crow. In a lot of places in this country, being racist used to be, kind of shameful. Now people are proudly saying, like the guy said on CNN this morning, yeah, we're trying to build an army for a race war. Yes. So now, because we have this fracture in the at least the online progressive movement, and it exists in the real world too, because look at the problems the Green Party has had in some cities with language in some of their charters or issues in regard to voting and the representation of black people who have wanted to join the Green Party, but they were disturbed by how little focus some Green Party chapters had on racial issues and how resistant some members of the Green Party were to address racial issues. So this is a real life thing too. So here you have this weakened, fractured left that can't make up its mind about what it wants to fight for. Does it want to fight for black people, or does it want to really just not make a big deal about racial discrimination and systemic racism and white supremacy, and do we just want to be class warriors? And then when black people come in and say, listen, we understand that there's a class issue, but race is inextricably tied to the class struggle, because for black people in the lower class, there are additional and different challenges. And we can't have that discussion. We can't come to agreement and consensus on that truth, because we got so many white people in the progressive movement on the left who really don't want to talk about racism. And because we are fractured in this way, we have nothing for this growing, strengthening, alt-right, white nationalist, neo-Nazi movement that is growing. Not only are they growing in numbers, folks, they're being funded by white people with deep, endless pockets. Robert Mercer. What's his name? I think it's Larry Adelson or Adelson in Nevada. These people on the left are always, y'all tickle me, always asking who funding somebody and pissed off when people take money from George Soros, or you're going to accuse somebody on the left of taking money for George Soros. Like we're supposed to stay broke in order to be legit for you. First of all, y'all don't give us any money. Some of y'all always question, it kills me. People on the left are always questioning who funds you. Who do you get your money from? But you don't ever send any money to anybody. But then the very people that you should be asking, the people you should be asking who is funding you, you don't. Because a lot of these GOP candidates who are even farther right than the Tea Party, they're funded by the Robert Mercers. Robert Mercer, who owns Cambridge Analytica, and has funded not only domestic hate groups, but is involved in international hate groups too. I mean, Steve Bannon was the campaign advisor to Jair Bolsonaro in Brazil. Steve Bannon helped get Jair Bolsonaro elected in Brazil. But y'all don't want to talk about race, though. That man is talking about slaughtering all of the indigenous people to clear away those people from the Amazon to have that land and to have the oil underneath it, to have the trees and the resources on it. He openly said there will be no more indigenous people. Steve Bannon helped get that man elected. But y'all don't want to talk about racism. Black people in Brazil, a black person is killed by the police in Brazil every 32 minutes. That was before Bolsonaro was elected. So there's been a racial issue in Brazil forever. I mean, Brazil was the country that imported white people from Europe to lighten up the population. They did that. And they have waged a war against poor black people ever since to get rid of them. How much worse do you think that's going to be now? But y'all don't want to talk about race, though. Y'all just want to talk about the class struggle. And I'm not saying that the class struggle is not important. Of course it is. Of course it is. But this is not just an issue of the 1%. Let's be honest about who the 1% is and always has been. Rich white men. That's still true. It's those rich white men who are telling black people who are struggling economically, and because it was manufactured, that it's not the corporation's fault that the wages are low. It's not business owners' fault that wages are low. It's the immigrants' fault, because they're coming over here and taking your jobs. That's what these rich white 1% men are telling black people. They are using immigrants against black people in this country, and some black people are buying it. But we don't want to talk about race, though. So as I'm looking at this, I'm not even going to call it a resurgence, because these people never went away. People think that somehow, racism disappeared or went somewhere, and openly racist people just didn't exist. No, they were a little bit more circumspect with their racism before now, but they were always there. They were always teachers. People are surprised at all these racist things these white teachers are doing, and the racist things these white kids are doing, and in high schools throwing up the Nazi salute, and the racist civic employees, city employees who will wear a t-shirt with a Confederate flag and a noose into a polling station. Oh, he worked for a hospital. I think he was an EMT, but he was a cop before then. People are all, I don't understand why y'all are shocked. We've been telling you that these people are everywhere. They're everywhere. They teach your kids They're the nurses in the hospitals. They're the checkers in the grocery store. They are doctors. They are lawyers. They are judges. They are cops. They are preachers. You got some of these televangelists finally coming out and practically calling people N-words and wetbacks and such from their pulpit in their orgasmic delight over Trump with his racist policies, because they believe on the surface, because they believe that Trump was sent here by God to bring about the apocalypse. But really what it is they're just glad that they get to be just as racist from the pulpit as they always have been in their private life, and they feel like Trump allows them to do it. I can't tell you how many of my church going friends whose churches I have left, that the conservative Christian ideology has always been racist. They didn't believe me. Oh no, it's God's will. God's will is sure looking awful racist right now, isn't it? I'm not going to be the person to tell you that I hate to tell you I told you so. I don't hate to tell you I told you so. Because see, we don't tell you that these things are a problem because we like to hear ourselves talk. We're trying to get people to see what the issues are so you can address them. People did not listen to us a couple years ago after that UNAC conference about these people who would be willing to unite with the racists on the left. People didn't listen to us. People said we were divisive. People said that we were race baiting. People said that we were being mean to Claudia, and we were being mean to Debbie, and we were being mean to Caitlin, and we weren't telling the truth about them. And now here we are, a fractured a progressive movement with a whole bunch of people over there who followed them and people like them. And all those people weren't white either. Some of those people were black folks who were more concerned about their largely white following than they were about doing the right thing and standing up for the truth and standing up for marginalized people. Some of those folks were black folks who sold us out too for the YouTube subscriptions and the Patreon contributions. Yeah, some of those folks were black folks who sold us out for the paycheck. That's just the truth. But we tried to tell people that this is not a game. You cannot find common ground with these people. I don't care if they really do want Medicare for all. I don't give a damn. Once they get Medicare for all, they're going to figure out a way to make sure that we don't get any Medicare coverage. Because that's what racists do. They don't want people who are not like them to have what they have. We think, some of us on the left believe, that if we unite with these people, then we will get what they want. We're so damn stupid, some of you white people who believe this shit, and a few of you black folks who believe this, you don't understand that those people are using you to get what they want, which is more power, more legitimacy, because that's all you're doing. You're legitimizing those people. You're telling the world that, they're not so bad. I don't mind working with them. I know I don't agree with them on everything. We don't agree on everything, but hey, look, we can get Medicare for all passed. And while they're still suiting up for the race war and nobody cares that they're doing it because you've legitimized them, there is no amount of Medicare for all that's going to help us when they come after us, and they will. Because they said it. They said so. And I don't say this from a place of fear. Please don't mistake that Jacquie Luqman is scared, because I ain't never scared. Oh, hell no. And what I will never do is give up my right to defend myself, my family, my husband, our dog, and whatever it is that is ours that someone, anybody, I don't care who it is, would come to forcibly take away. No, I don't say this that they are coming after us from a place of fear. No, I'm telling you the truth, because this is what these people have said. And it amazes me that these people on the left, some of you white people on the left who have believed these women, and some of these men, Zach Haller and a couple of other people, this person Tatsu, and a few other people, these QAnon people, you believe them with the garbage they spew, what they say has more legitimacy than the people who have always been left. Always. The people who have always subscribed to leftist ideology. That's black people in the struggle. We ain't never been nothing but left. Come on, land for our people, free education for our people, quality health care and affordable housing for our people, the right to defend ourselves for our people. That's straight out of the Black Panther Party 10-point plan. Bread and food. How is that not left? But you believe, some of you have believed that just getting Medicare for all is left enough for you. It's not left enough for us. It is not anywhere near left enough for us. You people aren't left enough for any of us to make any kind of gains in this society. You can't compromise with white supremacists and expect to change a society for the better. You can't give these people any legitimacy or any place in your movement, especially if your movement is supposed to be about pushing for progress toward equality and justice for all people. That's what progressivism is. That is what progressivism is. It's pushing for progress in the advancement of science, in the advancement of fair economics, and in the advancement of equality and justice for all people in society. That is progressivism. How do you get those things with the alt-right? You don't. So what happens is you get a bunch of narcissistic, attention whore, white people online who are finding relevance and fame in not only questioning the establishment, but also questioning common sense and logic, and demonizing the people who have been fighting this battle all our lives, while legitimizing this ridiculously dangerous idea of making friends with the people who've been trying to kill us. And now y'all are shocked. Shocked that President Trump is emboldening the racists. He's not the only one. Don't put this all on him. Don't put this on Trump. Because this has been something that white people have done for years and years and years. Yeah, I mean, we keep telling you, you keep not listening. So if things continue along this path, we'll continue to have this problem. We'll continue to have to keep fighting these same battles. Black people and brown people and other marginalized groups of people will continue to have to fight white supremacy and fight the ignorant factions of opportunistic white people on the so-called left who are fighting us because we're fighting for our lives. And they want to let a bunch of psychopathic murderers into this so-called movement. And from that perspective, the government doesn't have to do anything to destroy our movement. We do it ourselves. So yeah, it's because of that summer, and it's because of that happening several times before in the history of black struggle. Yeah, we do have meetings where we don't invite white people. Sometimes, yeah, it happened during the civil rights movement. It'll happen again. It's going to keep happening because we can't trust all of you. And honestly, we can't trust a whole lot of black people who don't understand the struggle either. But I'm telling you, for those of you who are serious about pushing for a just and equal society, fighting for a just and equal society, there is no common ground with the alt-right, with racists, with neo-Nazis. There is no common ground with those people. They are straight out saying in public They hate immigrants. They hate black people. They want a race war. They want to eliminate us. The common ground that they want for us is with us buried underneath the ground they stand on. Anybody who calls themselves on the left, who is pushing a narrative of trying to understand these people, taking the time to talk to them and trying to find common ground with them, you are my enemy. You are putting me and my family and my people in danger, and we can't be friends. I can't rock with you. The battle lines have been drawn for a long time. Pick a side. Whose side are you on? If you're not on our side, then you're not going to straddle the fence and then give direction on what I do while you're enjoying the comfort, the aiding and abetting of the enemy, and they're only using you in the first place. So this stuff is real, y'all, and I need to scoot on down the road. This traffic is terrible. I always leave the house, I think, in time to get to this stupid 9 o'clock meeting, and I'm always running. I hate it. But anyway, just stay vigilant, y'all. Just stay vigilant against people who would advance a narrative that there is any common ground for us to be had with people who want the elimination of groups of people. Anybody, that those people are not leftists, they're not progressives, they're not our allies, they're not our friends. And if you give quarter to those kinds of people, hell yeah, I question you. So thanks for watching. Y'all have a great day. Be safe. As always, be really good to each other. And peace. As much as possible, push for peace. As much as possible, fight for peace. But if somebody put their hands on you, put them in the cemetery.